I did 98 things for Ethan, finally earning his promise. Do one last thing, and we'll get married. The 99th thing was to pick him up at the airport when he returned home. That day, the rain poured down, and I waited a whole night in the terminal, clutching his favorite white roses. At dawn, security found me collapsed in the waiting area, and I was rushed to the hospital with a fever of 103.1 degrees Fahrenheit. The first thing I saw when I woke up was a wedding photo of him and his secretary, Tiffany, on my social media feed. In the photo, he had his arm around her waist, with the caption, "Finally found a daughter-in-law my mom approves of." I ordered a dozen black roses from a florist and had them delivered to his company. He stormed out, blocking me downstairs, furious. Tiffany's father has late-stage liver cancer and just wants to see his daughter married. Can't you show some sympathy? I slowly replied, then may your father-in-law live a long and healthy life, and may your marriage be everlasting, so no one gets upset. As I locked the car door, I vaguely heard him roar behind me, "Do you have to be so malicious?" I rolled down the window, gave him the middle finger, and smiled. Compared to you two, I'm still miles away. Leaving the hospital, the moment I saw Ethan at the company, I turned to walk away, but he grabbed my wrist. "Grace, do you have to make such a scene?" His voice was laced with anger. "As soon as her father's condition improves, I'll immediately file for divorce." I looked at the diamond ring on his ring finger and found it utterly laughable. For 7 years, he always had new excuses, new conditions. "Ethan, do you know how long I waited at Terminal 3? I took off my sunglasses, letting him see the bloodshot in my eyes. From the flight delay to the last subway stopping service, the arrival screen was completely blank. Every day, I organized his meeting minutes, accompanied clients until dawn, and even took care of his ailing mother and he was away on business. The day he returned, I waited at the airport from morning till night, my high heels chafing my heels, yet I stubbornly stood there, terrified of missing the first glimpse of him walking out. At dawn, all planes were grounded, and the airport was nearly shut down. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected my messy hair, and scattered travelers eyed my smudged makeup. Ground staff frequently came by, asking if I needed help. I shook my head. "Ma'am, the last international flight landed 4 hours ago," a check-in agent gently reminded me. My body temperature slowly rose in the cold air, and my vision began to blur. But I couldn't leave. What if he came out and didn't see me? What if this was his final test? When day broke, a cleaning lady pushing a mop passed by. "Honey, don't wait. Last night, a gentleman left with a female companion through the VIP channel." It was as if I suddenly regained consciousness. I stiffly lowered my head, opened my phone. The first post on my social media feed was his new update from 2 hours ago, captioned, "Feeling so touched by the thoughtful care I received abroad." At that moment, I finally understood. Someone who truly loved me wouldn't make me wait in a downpour for a flight that would never arrive. "Grace." He pounded on the car window. "Can't you be more understanding? Is a marriage certificate really that important?" His furious voice shattered my memories. "Yes, it is. Like now, I'm so glad the person in that wedding photo isn't me." He was about to say something else, but I had already started the car, shooting away like an arrow. Back home, I curled up on the balcony and drank half a bottle of whiskey. My phone vibrated. Ethan's social media feed updated with a 9-panel grid of his and Tiffany's wedding photos. In my drunken haze, I thought of deleting our shared photos. But when I opened the photo album, the screen was filled with the project proposals he'd asked me to revise, the contracts he'd asked me to sign on his behalf, the meeting minutes he'd asked me to organize. It turned out that in 7 years, I didn't even have a single shared photo worth deleting. My phone screen lit up, and Ethan's name popped up. 10 o'clock, same place, pick me up. My body reacted before my brain. I propped myself up on the dressing table, but a wave of dizziness forced me back into the chair. As I stumbled to grab my car keys, a second message came through, "Playing dead again?" My stomach suddenly churned, and I rushed to the bathroom, throwing up violently. The cold tiles against my cheek brought me back to my senses. We ended things yesterday. Tears streamed down my face, and I buried my head in my knees, sobbing. Ethan's third message was filled with rage. "Are you trying to end things?" "Yes, Ethan, let's break up." After sending that message, I blocked the number I knew by heart. Forcing myself up, I quickly showered, got dressed, and went downstairs to the convenience store to buy a strawberry cake. He said he hated sweets, so I gave them up for 7 years. But last week, I saw Tiffany eating macarons in his office, and he was smiling at her so fondly. The moment the cream melted on my tongue, I laughed through my tears. It turned out that when a man doesn't love you, even your taste buds are wrong. Tiffany's social media feed updated with a close-up of intertwined hands. There were no likes from mutual friends. I knew it was meant just for me. I dumped the overly sweet cake in the trash can, went home, and fell into a deep sleep on the sofa. At 4 a.m, Ethan, reeking of alcohol, used the key I had given him to open the door, flinging his suit jacket onto me. "Grace, you've grown some nerve, haven't you? Daring not to answer my calls?" The strong perfume mixed with the stench of alcohol hit me, making me almost gag. Ethan's eyes darkened, staring intently at my expression. "Stomach problems acting up? Or are you pregnant?" I slowly sat up. "My period came last week. But I was definitely put off by the scent of Tiffany's perfume on you." Ethan visibly froze. "Grace, stop making veiled accusations. I'm busy off my feet every day. What do you do besides being suspicious?" I rubbed my temples. "Busy teaching Tiffany how to read contracts at the hotel? And picking up her perfume in the process? Ethan, do you take me for a fool?" He adjusted his cufflinks. "We have a purely professional relationship. Can't you be less sensitive?" I watched him adjust his cufflinks and suddenly laughed. All these years, his little tells when lying hadn't changed. "Does a professional relationship require unbuttoning your shirt?" I took a sip of whiskey. "Ethan, does lying to me give you a great sense of accomplishment?" "Grace, you're being completely unreasonable." He spun around abruptly, his tie flying in a messy arc. "Even if I am close to her, it's because you pushed me to it." He loosened his tie, his voice suddenly rising. "It's been 7 years, can't you think of anything besides marriage?" See? In his eyes, it was always my fault. "Leave the keys on the coffee table. You should go home and rest." With that, I walked barefoot to the bedroom, hearing the thunderous slam of the door behind me. I finally understood that with some people, even communication is a waste of life. The next day, as I was packing my things at the company, Tiffany clacked over to my desk in her high heels. "Grace, what's this?" She flaunted her marriage certificate. I wasn't in the mood to play her games and tried to walk past her, but she suddenly grabbed my bag strap. I instinctively pushed her, and she shrieked, falling to the ground. "Grace, what are you doing?" Ethan rushed out of his office. Tiffany's eyes immediately welled up. "Ethan, I just wanted to say a few words to Grace." "Grace, apologize to Tiffany." Ethan grabbed my wrist. "Don't make me repeat myself." I shook off his hand and sneered, "Her play acting skills are first-rate." Asterisk smack. Asterisk. Before I could finish, Ethan's palm struck my face. My ears instantly buzzed. "You disgust me," his voice filled with anger. "Pack your things and get out immediately." I touched my burning cheek and suddenly wanted to laugh. Disgusting? Who was more disgusting? He used to need the warmth of my palm on his cheek to fall asleep. Now he slapped me without the slightest hesitation. I threw my ID badge on the floor. I should have left this dump a long time ago. Early the third morning, I packed my last suitcase. All these years, for Ethan, I had followed him from a downtown high-rise in the financial to this smaller, Midwestern town, missing even my parents' 60th birthday celebrations. When I went to the company to handle my resignation, my colleagues seemed surprised to hear I was looking for Ethan. A young intern looked at me strangely. "Grace, didn't you know? Ethan and Tiffany are having their wedding at Rosewood Park today." The resignation form in my hand crumpled. As I drove past Rosewood Park, I slammed on the brakes. 7 years ago, we often came here to feed the pigeons. Back then, fresh out of college, squeezed into a 10-square-meter rental in an older, less affluent neighborhood, Ethan always said that when he had money, he'd hold our wedding here. I remembered one time it snowed, and he pointed to the frozen lake, saying, "Grace, how about we have a winter wedding here someday? You'll wear a mermaid dress, I'll wear a tuxedo, and everyone will dance on the ice." I inexplicably walked into the park and from a distance saw the lakeside gazebo adorned with red, happiness, characters. Guests held champagne, and Ethan was bending down to adjust Tiffany's veil. A familiar piano melody drifted from afar, "Dream." "Grace?" Emily from the marketing department walked over with a wine glass. Her eyes flicked between me and the lawn ceremony area. "You, here for the wedding reception?" Her gossip was barely contained, practically screaming, "Are you going to see us a scene?" I smiled and nodded, then turned back to my car to get a cash gift in an envelope. 2 neat rows of gilded envelopes were stacked in the glove compartment. These were originally meant as return gifts for my own wedding. I slipped $333 into one of them, a symbolic gesture wishing them a quick split. On the glass stage in the middle of the lake, Ethan was spinning Tiffany around. I took a few steps closer and saw her ivory skirt flowing in his arms. My nose suddenly stung. All these years, what I never got, someone else did. I pushed the emotions back down. Ethan, happy wedding. I placed the cash gift in an envelope on the gift table and signed my name with a flourish. Grace? Ethan almost dropped his wine glass. Tiffany, however, smiled brightly. Grace, how thoughtful. We'll be sure to return the favor with double when you get married. She deliberately linked arms with Ethan. But you're still single now. Would you like me to introduce you to Ethan's friends? They're all millionaire bachelors, you know. She held Ethan tighter, her eyes full of possessiveness. Ethan, however, pulled away from her arm and grabbed my wrist instead, dragging me behind the fountain. Are you stalking me? Water droplets splashed on my cuff, and I pulled out a tissue to wipe them. Ethan frowned, his voice simmering with anger. All the guests are watching. Are you deliberately trying to ruin our day? Don't be so crazy, Grace. Her dad just wants to see us get married, it's just a formality. Don't make a scene now, you can't handle the consequences if you provoke me. I scoffed, taking a half step back to avoid his outstretched hand. Ethan, you're wearing your wedding ring. Is it appropriate to be grabbing me like this? I really have no other intentions. I simply came to give you a cash gift in an envelope. With that, I turned to leave. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him about to follow, but Tiffany grabbed his arm. The wedding V.E. New remained bustling, and no one noticed the brief interlude. Rain lashed furiously against the windshield. My phone screen lit up. It was a message from Eleanor. Sweetheart, come home. Edward has left you the project in the historic mansion in an affluent neighborhood. I replied, okay, great, and started the car. In the rearview mirror, the lights of the lakeside gazebo grew smaller and smaller. This time, my youth was truly over. When I arrived at the airport, Ethan's message popped up on my phone. Where did you go? I saved some wedding candy for you. I deleted and blocked him directly. While collecting my luggage, an unknown number called. Grace. Where are you? His hurried breathing came through the receiver. Grace. What's wrong with you? Ethan's voice pierced my eardrums. David specifically asked for you to be in charge of the project. Get back here immediately. If you keep acting this way, I'll report you to the next board meeting. I dragged my suitcase towards the parking lot. Ethan, I've already resigned. I'm no longer an employee of your company. Resigned? Who approved that? His voice suddenly rose. I didn't see any approval. What is HR doing? Ethan, I softly cut him off. Yesterday morning at 10, Tiffany signed my resignation form on your behalf. I heard the HR manager's quiet reminder from the other end of the phone. Ethan, you said Tiffany had full authorization to handle it. Ethan's voice suddenly softened. Grace, I was too anxious just now. The company really needs you. I opened the car door, suddenly feeling utterly pointless. Ethan, even now, you still think I stayed at that rundown company for the job? Stop this. I heard papers rustling on his end. I don't approve of the resignation form. You'll be back tomorrow, Ethan, I interrupted him. Let's part ways amicably. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Grace. Ethan's voice was hoarse. What are your terms? Shares? Annual salary? I can give you anything. I gazed at the runway outside the airport's floor-to-ceiling window, suddenly recalling the 7 wasted years. You can't afford it. Don't go around boasting about promises you can't keep. Grace. He suddenly raised his voice. Don't be ungrateful. Without my connections, do you think you can make it in this industry? Hearing his roar, I pressed hang up directly. As the plane broke through the clouds, I wiped away the lingering tears on my face. A few hours of flying. Upon landing, I saw our family's butler at the VIP channel. Miss, Alfred slightly bowed. Eleanor sent a car to pick you up. Thank you, Alfred. The black Maybach silently glided to the terminal entrance. As the car entered the downtown traffic, I looked out at the flashing neon lights and suddenly remembered the basement apartment Ethan and I rented together right after graduation. Back then, he always said, once the company goes public, we'll buy an apartment with a view of the city's landmark tower. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text from Ethan. Grace, without my network, do you think you can establish yourself in this city? They stopped in front of the Eleanor headquarters. Alfred held an umbrella and opened the car door. Miss, we've arrived. The security captain at the revolving door hurried over. Good afternoon, Grace. This circle is just that snobbish. They won't remember what bag you carry, they'll only remember your shareholding percentage. The elevator went straight to the top floor. The project leader came forward with a tablet. Grace, here's the due diligence report for the downtown development project. Call me Grace. I flipped to the page with the bidding companies. Ethan's logo was prominently displayed. I tapped the tablet screen. I'll take charge of this case. The leader's eyes widened. Understood, Giarva Grace. My phone lit up with a photo from Eleanor. She was wearing an apron, simmering porridge in a clay pot, which was fragrant with dumpling. I suddenly remembered Ethan always saying, Grace, business meetings are more important than family dinner. Be sensible. Alfred's message popped up. Miss, Eleanor asked which grade of premium ingredients to use for tonight's dinner. I looked at the downtown neon lights outside the window. Use the premium grade. In the Ethan conference room, Ethan was frantic, facing clients who were leaving. Please stay, everyone. This is our newly appointed Tiffany. She has full authority. Ethan was in a panic, desperately trying to make Tiffany take over Grace's work. But no one was willing to play along. Without signature, we can't recognize this agreement. We only deal with Grace. Several executives directly stood up and left, and the conference room was half empty in a flash. Ethan slammed his folder down. It's just a wedding? Does really need to make such a big deal out of it? He pulled out his phone and frantically dialed. Grace, come back and handle these clients. I'll divorce her and marry you right away. He didn't realize he had already been blocked. Tiffany walked in on high heels. Why are you panicking? She tossed out a contract. I just got in touch with the Eleanor. Their president agreed to a meeting. Are you sure? Ethan grabbed her arm. Tiffany raised an eyebrow triumphantly. Absolutely. What's the Eleanor's standing in this circle? With this connection, other small clients are hardly worth mentioning. We'll go to the city tomorrow. Ethan loosened his tie. We must show them our determination. Meanwhile, I had just returned home. Opening the door, the room was still exactly as I had left it before I went abroad. The desk lamp on my writing table was even in its old spot. My finger traced the desktop, revealing a sticky note I'd placed there years ago, hidden beneath the dust. My nose suddenly stung. Sweetheart, you're home. Eleanor peeked out from the kitchen, her apron stained with soy sauce. Eleanor made lobster bisque today. Edward specifically went to the local gourmet market for fresh seafood. In the living room, Edward pretended to read a newspaper, but it was upside down. All these years, he was angry that I gave up my Stanford offer, not even answering my calls on his birthday. Dad. Mom, my throat tightened. Edward shook the newspaper, finally only managing to blurt out, the room is cleaned every week. The sheets are freshly changed. Waking up for water in the middle of the night, I heard my parents whispering in the kitchen. Why don't you say something? Our daughter is finally back. I'm just afraid I'll say something too harsh and she'll leave again. On the cutting board was a half-sliced exotic fruit, my favorite when I was little. I quietly tiptoed back to my room. It turned out that true love never requires you to complete 99 tasks. The next morning, before the meeting, I ran into Ethan and Tiffany at the elevator. Tiffany giggled, covering her mouth. Oh, isn't this Grace? Kicked out of Ethan, now working as a receptionist for Eleanor? Ethan froze visibly when he turned around, then quickly stiffened his face. Grace, it's not too late to beg for mercy now. I ignored him, spreading the project proposal on the conference table. Are you two here to discuss a partnership? Tiffany scornfully looked me over. What's with the act? Go call your project manager. She turned to Ethan. Ethan, what does a junior employee like her understand? Ethan echoed, we're here today to discuss an acquisition. We don't have time to play house with you. Call your Eleanor. The conference room door suddenly opened. My group, my daughter gets the final say. Do you think you do? Eleanor walked in on high heels, coldly scanning the two of them. Tiffany immediately put on a sweet smile. Eleanor, hello. No need, Eleanor raised her hand. My daughter will be fully responsible for this project. Ethan's face went pale. You're Grace's mother? Eleanor patted my show. Older Sweetheart, tell us your opinion. I opened the evaluation report, tapping my pen on Ethan's balance sheet. Ethan currently has less than 20 million in liquid assets, and 3 projects have stalled. This acquisition case, I looked up at Ethan. Unfortunately, the Eleanor doesn't take over empty shell companies. Tiffany slammed her hand on the table. You're lying. We clearly, because you prepared the evaluation report. I closed the file. It's the Eleanor's policy not to do business with those who break trust and falsify financial statements. Ethan's face was ashen, his lips trembling as he tried to speak. Eleanor gently pressed my shoulder, pushing a letter across. Ethan, this is a termination notice. The group never partners with companies that commit financial fraud. And Ethan suddenly grabbed Eleanor's hand. I'm Grace's boyfriend. We've been together for 7 years. He turned to me, his eyes pleading. Grace, explain it. We're just going through a rough patch. You wouldn't, I cut him off. Is the wedding ring on your finger just for show, Ethan? Eleanor tapped the table. The group doesn't discuss personal matters. She gestured towards the door. Sweetheart, show them out. Ethan suddenly grabbed my wrist. Grace, say something. 7 years of feelings, and you're just throwing them away? His grip was so strong it hurt me. Tiffany's face was pale beside him. Grace, we were wrong before. Please be the bigger person, for Ethan's sake, let's discuss this further. Please leave, both of you. The secretary had already pulled open the main door. Get out. Ethan pushed away the security guard and lunged at me. Have you forgotten our promise at the lakeside gazebo? You said a winter wedding, you in a mermaid dress, me in a tuxedo, everyone dancing on the ice. I even prepared the wedding ring. His voice suddenly choked. It's in the bottom of my safe. I pulled my hand free. I had thrown that ring into the city river last Eek. Ethan, my voice was cold. I waited for you at the airport all night, collapsed with a high fever. Where were you? You were posting wedding photos with her on your social media feed. He suddenly sneered. I get it. You planned all this, didn't you? Pretended to be poor to get close to me, waited until I fell for you, and then humiliated me like this. His eyes were sharp. You never loved me. You just wanted revenge. The security guards finally dragged them out. Ethan's roars echoed down the hallway. Tiffany, didn't you say you could handle the Eleanor? Bullshit. Tiffany shrieked back. If you hadn't insisted on provoking her, would the company be ruined? Then came the crisp sound of a slap and a scuffle. I dialed the finance department internal line. Calculate the damages to the hallway. Send the bill to Ethan. After hanging up, my assistant pushed the door open. Grace, Ethan has filed for bankruptcy protection. The investment department wants to know if we'll participate in the bidding. I nodded slightly. Those projects, after all, had once been my passion. In the days that followed, I poured all my energy into new ventures. Working until dawn every day, filling every minute with stacks of documents. Another purpose was to prove to Eleanor that I, Grace, was no longer the foolish girl who would die for love. Eleanor came to see me at the company during lunch. Sweetheart, you handled the Ethan situation beautifully. She then changed the subject. But the future of the Eleanor needs someone to shoulder it with you. You should consider it. My chopsticks trembled slightly on the rim of the bowl. My chest suddenly felt tight. Here we go again. This topic was like a fishbone, aching faintly with every swallow. Eleanor, the new project has just gotten off the ground. I'm not rushing you to date, Eleanor interrupted me. Owen from the Owen family, remember him? The boy who always used to run behind you. He spent a few years on Wall Street after graduating from Harvard and recently returned home. A memory flashed of a boy who always smiled quietly, always seeming to be a half step behind me. I frowned. Eleanor, I don't have the time now, you need to. Eleanor put down her chopsticks. The family and ours have 3 generations of friendship. Owen is a fine young man, his character and abilities are a good match for the Eleanor. Aunt and I have discussed it, you two should meet first. She paused. If you click, see where it goes. If not, just be friends. The City River cruise ship sounded its horn outside the window, Eleanor's voice blending in. Sweetheart, don't let Ethan ruin your trust in relationships. Ethan. The name was like a rusty nail, suddenly digging into my fingertips. I stared at the floating tea leaves in my teacup, suddenly finding it laughable. All those vows of eternal love, in the end, were nothing but a meticulously planned deception. Perhaps was right. A marriage between families of equal social standing, at least, was transparently priced. No need to worry about being stabbed in the back someday. The teacup turned in my palm, and I heard myself say, "Okay, I'll meet him." Things moved fast, almost surreal. With the tacit cooperation of both families, Owen and my engagement was quickly settled. No romantic pursuit, no deliberate surprises. The day we signed the prenuptial agreement, the lawyer recited the clauses repeatedly. Asset notarization, division of responsibilities, breach of contract terms. Owen sat at the other end of the long table, occasionally tapping the paper with his pen to suggest modifications, as professional as if he were reviewing a merger contract. "After we're married, I'll live in my historic mansion in an affluent neighborhood, 10 minutes drive from the Financial," I said, flipping through the documents. "All right," he replied without looking up. "I don't have many belongings. My secretary will send over some essentials tomorrow." His pen scratched O. And the paper. "My father would like to play golf with Uncle this weekend." "No problem," I closed my folder. Just as the wedding invitations began to be printed, an unexpected guest disrupted this precisely orchestrated union. The meeting ended at dusk. I rubbed my aching neck as I walked out of the Eleanor building. A white BMW with peeling paint screeched to a halt in front of me. The car door sprang open, and Ethan stumbled out. He was gaunt, his cheekbones protruding. His suit was wrinkled like a rag, his tie crooked around his neck. Those once captivating peach blossom eyes were bloodshot, his chin covered in messy stubble. "Grace, I'm divorced." He waved divorce papers, his fingernails caked with grime. "Look, just got them. We can get married now. Come on. Let's go register right away." His shouting drew stares from passers-by. I stared at his distraught and belligerent appearance. A wave of nausea, not heartache but an unspeakable irritation and weariness, rose in my chest. I yanked back my sleeve, which he was clutching, and he stumbled, almost falling. "Ethan, what are you doing now?" My voice was icy. "I'm not making a scene. I'm not drunk." He suddenly knelt down, tears and snot smearing his face. "I did all this for you. I broke up with her, she doesn't know how to appreciate anything. The day the Ethan family ran into trouble, she just disappeared with her savings. Grace, I regret it. Let's start over." His dirty hand grabbed my pant leg. "I don't want anything. Please." I sharply pulled my leg away, and he fell onto the sidewalk. Looking at this tear-streaked man, I suddenly remembered the Ethan who used to strategize in the conference room. Was this the person I gave up everything to follow? Was this the lover who left me waiting at the airport all night, collapsing with a high fever, never even showing up? "Start over?" I sneered, pulling the gilded red marriage certificate from my briefcase. "Look closely." I held the marriage certificate up to his eyes, directly facing Ethan's distorted face. In the photo, I wore a simple wedding dress, and Owen stood beside me in a dark blue suit. His lips were slightly upturned, my gaze calm, like a perfectly ordinary identification photo. "Spouse, Owen." A few small gold characters glinted in the sunlight. Ethan's wails caught in his throat. He stumbled backward, his fingers trembling as he pointed at the marriage certificate. "Fake, this must be fake." "How could you possibly, why not?" I put away the certificate, my voice so calm I didn't even realize it. "Ethan, what do you think you are? Do you believe I've Grace couldn't possibly live without you for the rest of my life? My husband is Owen." I articulated each word, then turned and walked towards the waiting Maybach. Alfred had already opened the car door. "Grace, you'll die a horrible death." Hysterical curses followed me from behind. I did not stop. The car door softly clicked shut, isolating everything outside. In the rearview mirror, the figure that had once caused me so much pain gradually shrunk, finally disappearing around the corner. I watched the scenery outside the window constantly receding, just like our irreversible past. But the road ahead was long, and the future would take care of itself.